the room to have influence. In this video, I'm breaking down what I call the art of subtle influence, a set of invisible dynamics that shape how people respond to you, often without either of you realizing it. Once you understand these patterns, you'll start to notice them everywhere: your friendships, your romantic relationships, your work, and in your daily conversations. Subtle influence isn't about controlling anyone, it's about leading energetically, because influence isn't always obvious, but it is always happening. Hey friend, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and become their best self. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. But before we dive in, I just want to quickly invite you to join my new weekly newsletter, the Dream Life Digest. It drops in your inbox every Tuesday. It's totally free. And it's where I share mindset tips, manifestation magic, feminine energy, soft life vibes, and it's a bit more behind the scenes, a bit more personal. So if you would like to join the inner circle, the link for that is down below in the description. So I'm just gonna get right into the video, but we're gonna talk about 6 powerful ways that we can subtly influence the people around us. Now, this is not manipulation, but this is energetic leadership. So use it wisely. Let's start with one of the most powerful but often overlooked truths in human behavior. People become who you tell them they are. Okay, people's identities are malleable, and we are constantly being influenced by the way we think other people see us. And this is the important part though. Your identity is what determines your behavior. However we see ourselves, we will naturally behave in a way that aligns with that. For better or for worse, it's just how humans work. Think about it. If you tell your kid, "You're so kind, you're such a good kid, I love how thoughtful and polite you are," if you say that over and over and over again to them, they are at least much more likely to act in alignment with that and be a kind, good, polite kid. But flip that around. If what they hear all the time is, "You're such a troublemaker, you never listen, why are you always causing problems?" Well, you can probably guess what kind of kid they're going to become. They're at least much more likely to live up to that negative expectation. That's because they start living out what's being reflected to them. They begin to see themselves that way. Their identity shifts, and over time, they'll start to behave in ways that match that identity. And well, it's the same with adult relationships too. People rise or fall to meet the version of themselves you reflect back. Behavior follows identity. Shift their identity, shift their behavior. And this works in like any type of relationship, but let's take a romantic relationship, okay? Let's say that you want your boyfriend, your husband, your partner, whatever, to be more in their masculine energy. Okay, well, whatever you want to bring out in him, you need to reinforce the identity behind it. If you say things like, "You're such a generous person," or "I love how protective you are with me," or "You're always so grounded in stressful situations," or even something casual and jokey like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're the stable one in this relationship," and watch what happens. They will naturally want to live up to that image that you are creating. It's like giving someone a reputation that they need to maintain. When you tell your partner, "Oh, you're so good at fixing things around the house," suddenly they start getting the itch to grab their toolbox. It's almost like now they subconsciously want to play that part. You're not changing them. You're inviting them into a version of themselves that already exists, but they're not fully tapped into yet. But here's the flip side, and be honest, because we've probably all done this. When we're frustrated, we might say things like, "You never help around the house," or "Why are you always being so selfish?" And guess what? That person is now way less likely to help around the house or be generous, because you've literally just told them that that's not who they are. And people will almost always act in alignment with who they believe they are. Now, here's the important nuance with this. This works especially well if you are not just totally making something up, but you're taking what's already there in them, even if it's really small, even if it's really subtle, and you water it, you help it grow. Think about it like this. Maybe your partner isn't usually the one to plan the date nights, but one time they suggested a cool restaurant and booked the reservation. Instead of saying, "Finally, you took initiative for once," you say, "I love how thoughtful you are." You are getting into his brain that he is thoughtful. And once he starts to see himself as a thoughtful person, he will start to do more thoughtful things. People become who you tell them they are. People often want to prove that identity true. Or let's say you are a manager or like a team leader at work. If one of your employees takes initiative and solves a problem before anyone asks, you could say, "I love how proactive you are. You're always one step ahead." Even if it was the first time that they have ever shown any initiative, they'll still be way more likely to do it again. Because now that person is starting to think, oh, I'm proactive. And behavior always follows identity. This little trick is subtle, but it is powerful and it works. Now, like I said, this can also work in the negative direction too. There is a potential dark side to this if you don't use it right. If someone is constantly told, "You're so lazy, you're too sensitive, you're not capable of that, you always mess things up," they may start to believe it, even if it's not true. That belief can start to become internalized, and then what happens? Behavior follows identity. This is why negative reinforcement can do so much damage, especially over time. And that is why I say use this power with grace. This is not manipulation, this is energetic leadership. And a good leader knows how to bring out the best in people. So when you reflect the best in someone, more often than not, they will rise to meet it. And when you reflect the worst in someone, they will usually fall to that too. Now, the next thing you need to understand is this. People don't respond to you. They respond to how they feel about themselves around you. If you want to be charismatic and magnetic, and if you want to have influence, it's not about being the most impressive. It's about being the kind of person who makes people feel good about themselves. When someone is in a type of relationship with you, whether it is your romantic partner or a child or a family member or a friend or your employee or a manager or whatever, they're not just responding to who you are. They are mostly emotionally responding to how they feel about themselves in your presence. Let me put it this way. If someone feels smart around you, they'll listen to you more. If someone feels calm around you, they'll trust you more. If someone feels safe around you, they'll open up to you more. And if someone feels good about themselves around you, they'll follow your lead. And that is real influence. It's subtle, yes, but it is influence. The people with real influence aren't necessarily the most successful or the most intelligent or the most capable. They're the ones who make others feel successful, intelligent, and capable. So next time you're trying to influence someone, whether that is closing a deal or getting your boyfriend on board with an idea or leading your team at work or even helping out a family member with something, pay attention to the energy you're bringing in, because if you're just trying to win, you'll lose them. But if you're trying to connect and make them feel good, you'll lead them. Now next, you know how in social situations, whether it's a dinner party or a group hang or even a team meeting, there's always some kind of unspoken energy in the room. Maybe it's happy and relaxed and great and everyone is smiling, everyone's having a good time. Or maybe it's awkward and low energy. Or maybe it's tense for literally no reason. Maybe everyone's being polite and quiet and kind of weird. But what do most people do when they walk into an environment? They match it. Without even thinking about it, this is what we naturally tend to do as humans. We naturally, automatically tend to fall into the same energy of our environment and the peers around us. But here's the thing, if you want to be someone with influence, you can't just follow the tone. You have to be the person that sets the tone. Let's say you walk into a dinner where everyone's kind of stiff, a little unsure of each other. You can either match that energy. You know, you can stay quiet, you can sip your water awkwardly, you can wait for someone else to change the vibe, or you can be the one who shifts it. You can be the one to speak up or crack a joke or ask an interesting question or smile a little bigger, whatever it is. You decide to be the one who breaks the pattern, because the person who shifts the energy of the room, the person who goes first, not the person who follows the tone, but the one who sets the tone, that is a subtle form of power. You're not controlling anyone. You're just offering them a new frequency for them to rise into. Like I said, we naturally, subconsciously want to match the people and the energy around us. And when you shift your energy, you give them something else to match to. And here's what's funny, once you start noticing this, you will see it everywhere. Watch the most grounded or confident person at the dinner table. If they lean back, everyone else subtly relaxes. If they start asking questions, the energy shifts more toward openness and conversation. Even tiny things like they take a sip of their water and suddenly everyone else realizes that they're thirsty too. The point is that we mimic people around us subconsciously, automatically, without us even realizing it. Don't be the person who mimics, especially when the energy is low or weird. If you want to have subtle influence, you don't follow the tone. you set it. Now, this next point is so interesting. This was something that I noticed on my own a few years ago, and once you realize this, you'll see it everywhere. In relationships, doesn't matter the type of relationship, romantic relationships, friendships, whatever, there is always a little role play going on. Whether you mean to or not, you are teaching people how to engage with you based on the role that you habitually step into. Think about this. If you are in a relationship with a man and he is very much in his healthy masculine energy, that makes it so much easier for you to naturally just fall into your feminine energy, right? And it's the same in reverse. If you date someone and they're very much in their feminine energy, it makes it so you naturally, automatically step more into your masculine energy. Well, this type of role play is always happening in relationships, just in so many different ways. So here's what you need to realize. Whatever role you play, people subconsciously match its complementary opposite. Relationships always seek balance. If you always play the helper, the fixer, the caretaker, people will naturally lean back and rely on you more. If you always play the student, the person who needs help, then the other person will start to play the teacher, even if you don't want advice. If you always act like the therapist or the emotional processor, people will start to offload their problems onto you and rarely check in on you. If you always play the high achiever who has it all together, people stop offering support because they assume that you don't need any. If you're always the responsible one in the relationship, the one who manages all the details, then the other person in the relationship is likely going to become much more spontaneous and much more hands-off around you. If you act super type B and spontaneous and don't plan things out, the other person in the relationship naturally starts organizing and taking the lead. If you're always super decisive and assertive, then the other person might start leaning a bit more agreeable and more go with the flow. If you're always very emotionally expressive and open and intuitive, then the other person in the relationship might balance that out by being more logical or maybe more emotionally reserved. If you always text first or make the plans, the other person gets used to responding, not initiating. If you act like the prize, people start to earn your attention. Energy seeks balance. If you're always filling the space, then the other will lean back. If you lean back, then the other will lean in. There tends to be this subtle teeter-totter going on, right? So if you go down, the other person goes up. Not always, definitely not always, but relationships, no matter what type of relationship, they tend to often follow this pattern. So once you understand this balancing act, you can strategically shift your own role to create the space for others to step into the role that you actually want them to play. Now, does this always work? No, but they're much more likely to shift their behavior. And it's a lot more effective than trying to push someone into changing. The role you choose silently teaches people how to play theirs. So change your role, and often the whole dynamic will change with it. The next one is simple. People respond more to your certainty than your logic. Meaning, if you want to have influence, you have to have confidence and belief in what you are actually saying. And I'm gonna be real, women tend to struggle with this more than men. We soften things a little bit. We say, well, I think, or I'm probably wrong, but, or we add in words like maybe or probably. Even when we know what we're talking about, we feel like we have to cushion it for some reason, or we're just terrified of being wrong. But here's the truth. Confidence is persuasive. Certainty is magnetic. And you don't even need to be right. People just need to feel that you believe in it. Studies show this all the time. We consistently rate confident speakers as more knowledgeable and more trustworthy, even when they are objectively wrong. In medicine, doctors